Welcome to GV247.tv, the Global Vision Channel, a non-profit web TV channel bringing biblical perspective to the world in which you live.
Hello and welcome to the weekend show. This week I've got a special guest with me, a dear friend from the west of Scotland called Pam McLeman, and she has an amazing testimony. So you'll also be able to watch her in the Crown of Life series, which is channel 3 or 4 I think. But anyway, Pam, we're going to get straight into it because you've got quite an amazing testimony. So tell the viewers a little bit about your background and your upbringing.
Well, I was brought up in a Christian home. Mum and Dad, Mum went to the Close Brethren and Dad was mission minded and went to Faith Mission, and Dad took me under his wing and took me to Saturday night rallies and things like that, and Mum was away from the Lord for a while. And one time at the Saturday night rally, I came back after being challenged and being a bit fearful. I was 9-year-old and I thought, if I die tonight, where will I go? And I knew my mum and dad were believers in Christ, and that was a wee bit of a worry because I thought, if I die, am I going to be with them? So that night I went to my dad and he came through and he knelt beside me in the bed, and I gave my heart to the Lord and trusted him, and then tried to tell everybody at school I was saved, and they had not a clue what I meant. But as time went on, obviously my faith developed. I was attending a Brethren church in the local area from just right through Sunday school right up, and then when I came 12 years old, I decided to go through the waters of baptism, and at that time that the way they did it was you became a member of that church. So I was baptised at 12 and went through Bible class, and then I got married very young. I was only 18 when I married, and well, that's another story. That took me down another road.
Now, you mentioned a fear of dying. Was that something you had for a while, or was it just really before you actually gave your heart to the Lord?
I think it was more when I realised that there was hell and there was heaven, and you could go to be with the Lord or you could go to a place where he wasn't. And that when that was a realisation of that, and I was only 9, but when I realised that, I was scared, because I thought, well, if I don't believe, then I'll not go to be with my parents, and I'll not go to be with the Lord. So I came to faith in Christ through fear, not through his love for me. That was something that I learned later.
Mm-hmm. So were you a practising Christian up until the age of 18 when you got married?
Yes, I attended the Brethren Church. We were very involved in youth work. My husband, Charlie, he's I always say 10 years, but he'll correct you and say it's 9.5 years older than me. So we were involved in quite a lot of activity prior to getting married. We got married in the Brethren Church, and we both were in fellowship in the Brethren Church for a number of years together.
So, how was marriage? And don't hold back, tell the viewers. Marriage
was an eye-opener, and it truly was. I think part of the difficulty that we had was because there was an age gap, and if I tell you that he was my school teacher as well, so you can imagine that when I came home, or when he came home, I was still very much looked at as the pupil and him the school teacher. And that presented its own difficulties. Plus, you don't know someone until you actually live with them. Yeah. And I really did not enjoy my marriage. In fact, in the first year, I thought, Lord, what on earth have I done? I just could not, I just didn't like it. There was one bit of it that I liked. So I got to my knees because there was no one I could go to. I felt that if I went to people in the church, would it be held in confidence? And I wasn't convinced at that time. And then I couldn't go to my mum because I felt if she knew, then she might hold it against Charlie, and I couldn't go to Charlie's mum because it just didn't feel right. So I had nobody else to go to. So I found myself going to the Lord and crying out to him because I just was unhappy, miserable, and was praying earnestly that the Lord would change Charlie into the person that I wanted him to be.
So we're going to stop there for a minute. Here's a question for you married people out there, how often have you got down on your knees and asked God to change your spouse? Did the Lord change him?
Nope.
So what happened next?
Well, what happened next? This went on for a long period of time.
All right, okay, so we'll come back to how to pray properly.
Yeah.
We'll do that later. Okay, that was nearly a spoiler there.
Right.
Okay.
It did.
Could you explain to the viewers, Pam, obviously I don't want you to open any awful cans of worms, but, what was it? You said there was nothing you enjoyed about marriage. Was there anything in particular? Was Charlie like a school teacher with you? Was he, or...
Well, Charlie came from a Brethren background where the women are, I suppose, they dominate the women.
The men dominate the women.
The men dominate the women, and it's very much you do this, you do that, you're in the house, and you become almost like the gopher or the doormat. And I'm not meaning that he was like that all of the time, but that was the type of teaching, and that was the environment in which he grew up, and the school teacher attitude, which was hard to leave at the school because we had come from school, me being a pupil. So there was all of that. I suppose there was a bit of fighting for control in the marriage. Who says what? Who does what? And I had had children very early on into the marriage. So we were only married about 18 months when the first baby came along. And that was very difficult because it was not something that I had planned or expected. And that added another problem. Really, not that she was a problem, but it just made our marriage more difficult because I wasn't coping. I went into postnatal depression and just found it very, very hard to cope. I always, Charlie liked the house to be tidy and he liked his meal to be ready. All of these things, which there was an expectancy from him, for me to have all of that, to be the wife, But what's that film? There's a film, I can't remember. I can see it in my mind. But no, he wanted me to be like the perfect wife, and I was exhausted. Yeah. I was exhausted trying to be the wife that he wanted me to be, the wife maybe that my mother-in-law expected me to be, that even my own mum expected, and the wife that I thought I should be. And oh my goodness, it was just
and the mother, of course, because you had 3 children, didn't you?
Yes, I had 3 children. I had 3 under 2.
Goodness me,
So 3 under 2.
It's a lot for anybody.
No car, struggling financially, and yeah, it was difficult. It was difficult. Money was short. They always say when you've no money, love goes out the window, and I can see why, because it puts a real strain on the relationship. That, coupled with the fact that we were involved in so much activity in the church, we had no time for ourselves. We had no time for each other, and that's important, that you have time for each other. So no, all in all, those first 7 years were, and I think during that period, I had this other agenda in my head. I had this idea that if it didn't work out with me and Charlie, then, what about the ex-boyfriend, or what about this one or that one? I was playing games in my mind, trying to have another option, an alternative. And yet, at the same time, I absolutely knew that I had taken my vows before the Lord, and I was in this for the long haul. But I went between these 2 thoughts in my head. Well, if it doesn't work, so I flirted terribly, even when I was married. Even when I was married, if I would go to works nights out, or I was invited to nights out, I would flirt.
It was a big problem, wasn't it, Pam?
Yeah.
Tell the viewers why you did it and how you thought it was okay.
Well, I thought it was my personality. I thought that was the way that I was. It was just, I was a wee bit out there, friendly, and I would flirt. But probably the underlying issue for me was that I just longed to be accepted. I had this real craving to be accepted and liked by men. And it probably stems back to my relationship with my dad, which my dad was my dad, but he was away from work all of the time. So I didn't see my dad from Monday through to Friday, and then he would come home. So there was this real longing of wanting to be accepted by men. And of course, you think that that's you, you're just being friendly, you're being flirtatious, but obviously men don't see it like that. They see it quite differently. And of course you find yourself getting into situations which are just not good. And you're kind of trying to backpedal. That's not what you were looking for. Excuse me, that's not what you're looking for, but they're looking for other things, and you're just looking for them to like you and be friendly. But it gets taken the wrong way. But no, it was huge for me. It became my whole personality, the way I would walk, the way I would look at somebody over a room. If I looked long enough, I figured they would look back. So no, it was huge for me until the Lord began to show me.
Okay. Do you feel that this was something like an addiction? People talk about sex addictions and of pushing out the boat a bit. Actually, it's almost taking risks. You know, how far could you push it to be made? It's not just to be accepted as a person, but you obviously wanted to have it acknowledged that you were still an attractive woman. Yeah. You were very young. You were married young. You had 3 children who I know you love very, very dearly. But who was Pam? Where had you gone? Were you still there? Were you still the attractive young woman? Okay. I really do believe that a lot of women out there, and maybe even a number of men, would understand that. However, of course, the dichotomy here is the fact that you are professing to be a Christian. Yeah. And of course, that's just nowhere in the Bible that this is allowable. But your excuse in your head was, well, it's part of my personality.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just felt that was me, and I would never change because that was the way God made me. I was just flirtatious, and I didn't see it as wrong. I just saw it as personality. But as I grew in my faith in Christ, and as I continued to cry out for a period of about 7 years with the Lord on my marriage, He began to unfold just how offensive that type of behaviour was to Him, and what it did to the men that I flirted with. You know, when I began to have a realisation, I remember being in my bedroom one day, and there was just this revelation of my sin in all of this, my part in all of this, and how horrendous it was. And I cried, and I wept, and that went on for days, just realising that this was not the way God had made me. This was the way, in fact, I had become. I had chosen to walk this way. So, and then I had to unlearn behaviour patterns, you know, because I was in the habit of dressing with a short dress, or I was in the habit of walking a certain way. I was in the habit of looking over to see if people were looking at me. You know, all of these habits took a wee while, just one by one, to try and say, well, do you know what, Lord, I don't want this anymore. But it had gotten a real grip on my life.
How was Charlie dealing with this? Did he acknowledge it?
Well, you see, this was another problem, because Charlie, I would have liked, and what I wanted for Charlie to do was to say to me, no, you're not going to a night out. I would far rather you stay in. You know, this is not helpful, this is not good. But no, Charlie felt, because I was so young, he thought, well, do you know, and he completely trusted me, that, well, away you go then. And he thought he was doing me good by saying, look, on you go, you're still young, you can go out with your friends, blah, blah, blah. But of course, wasn't good for me, and it wasn't the answer I wanted to hear from him. I wanted him to say, no. I mean, I kept in touch with an old boyfriend. I had him to the house. I did things that were just, I look back and I think, for goodness sake, Pam, that was ridiculous. But I wanted him to say to me, don't. But in him not doing that, it almost made me think, well, does he really care?
I understand.
Do you know, does he really care? And of course he did, but I misunderstood.
Right.
Misunderstood.
Always it comes down to communication, doesn't it?
Yes.
And lack of communication. It's just a terrible thing. So the Lord showed you that this was abominable to Him, and really broke you, and you wept and wept. When did you come to the conclusion that perhaps you were praying wrong when you were saying, Lord, change Charlie? And you should have been praying, what should you have been praying?
I should have been praying, Lord, change me. That probably came prior to this realisation, because I was exhausted, as we had said before, about trying to live up to everybody else's standard of what I thought a wife should be. And then I had this, and again it was just revelationary from the Lord, that I should really be the wife that He wants me to be, that the Lord wants me to be. And see, when I had that there was just such a real sense of relief. That, wow, okay, that's the answer, that's the way to go. And so therefore it was getting before the Lord and saying, okay, Lord, how can I be the wife that You want me to be? And the minute I started changing my attitude toward Charlie, and basically leaving Charlie to God, I stopped praying for Charlie to be like this and to be like that and to be more understanding and more this, and I just prayed, okay, Lord, begin to change me. And I can honestly say that Charlie started to change. And it was almost like God honoured what I did because I was doing it to Him. I was being obedient to the Lord. And I was looking, and I was willing, and the Lord knew my heart, that I was absolutely willing to submit to Him and try and be that wife, the wife that He would have me be. And Charlie did. All these changes started. I couldn't believe it. And I thought, my goodness, this man is different, and I didn't have to ask for any of it. So I absolutely believe, and I've had this conversation with other people, if one of you, if there's difficulty in a marriage and one of you invite the Lord in, then there is hope for that marriage, without a doubt, because it's God that then starts to work, and it's God that then starts to bring the change, and it's God that starts to bind you together, and rekindle that love, the way that it should be, not the way that I expected it to be. When we got married, and being so young, I didn't really know what I was doing at that age.
I know. Yeah. It's funny. I mean, you are blessed by the fact that at least your husband was a Christian.
Oh yeah.
My heart goes out to all these people out there who are married to non-believers, and it must make it even more difficult. But again, the prayer has to be, Lord, change me to be the husband or wife that You want me to be.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Now, back to your 3 little darlings.
Yes.
So 2 of them were twins?
Yep. I had Pauline first, and then 22 months later, the twins were born.
So tell us about Ashley.
Right, well, Ashley was born deaf, but we didn't know Ashley was deaf.
Was she profoundly deaf?
Yes, she was profoundly deaf, and we didn't pick up on this until we were away a weekend, and Ashley would be about 3.5 or thereabouts, and we were shouting at her for some reason, and she had her back to us, and she wasn't responding. We thought, that's so strange. So we turned her around, and it was at this point we started to put stuff above her mouth, and we started to realise she can't hear. And we hadn't picked it up any sooner because, being twins, some of you might know, they developed this gobbledygook language of their own, so they could communicate. So there was no need for her to communicate because she had her sister.
Twin sister. Yeah.
So she was quickly taken to the GP. They referred her to an audiology specialist, the Balvicar Centre in Glasgow, where she was diagnosed as profoundly deaf in one ear and 90% deaf in the other ear. They said that she may be able to hear a very high-pitched tone in that ear, but no, she was deaf, and there was no hope, not at this age. Possibly when she became 8 or 9, they may look at putting grommets in the ears to see if that would have helped, but at that point in time they could give me nothing that would work. So yes, so that was a wee bit of a shock to the system. But we had just recently moved from our Brethren Church to Easterhouse Baptist Church, and that had come about by me getting to the end of the road, really, with Christianity, because I was at this place where I was frazzled, doing all this activity in church, having these 3 children, just struggling.
Yeah.
And I remember we had a really big long kitchen, and I remember walking up the kitchen floor this day and just saying, Lord, is this it? Is this it? Because see, if this is Christianity, I'm out. I don't want this anymore. And
what was the problem, Pam? Was it because so much was being asked of you by the church?
Yeah,
or
we were exhausted. We were involved in activity. There was no real meaning and purpose. Yes, I believed. I always believed from when I was 9 that God was there and that he was real. But I never really had that closeness with him. Now I had invited him into my life, but I had never given him control over my life. And I just thought, surely there's got to be more to my relationship with God than what I had experienced up to that point. And if that was all there was, then I thought, you know what, I could do without it.
What about postnatal depression? Did you still have it at this
No,
point?
that had passed. Thankfully, that was over in about 6-7 months. That moved on, and I was fine, and I came through that, and I was okay. But I was physically exhausted. I was mentally exhausted. We financially were strapped for cash, and we were involved in doing. And I think we had become probably obligated to people. We didn't want to let them down. But I don't believe for 1 minute, looking back, that God had actually asked me to do most of that. And so therefore I was caught up in the doing, trying to find favour with man, thinking I was doing right by God. And in the meantime, I was just losing the will to live.
I understand. So it's a works-based form of Christianity then. Yeah. And that's very easy to fall into because so many churches put that pressure on us to perform. You have to be out evangelising, you have to be doing such and such. Whereas actually, if you read the Bible carefully, we're not told that we have to do these things. We're called.
But the other thing is, you feel because they're good things that they're right.
Yeah.
You know, because they're not. There wasn't one of the things that we were involved in that you wouldn't have said was a good thing to do, and it benefited people. So you felt that it was right, but unless God has asked you, unless it's in His will for you, then you could be a round peg in a square hole. You could be doing somebody else's job, but there's no fulfilment in it when He's not in it.
So you moved on to a Baptist church.
Yes, it was in there that a gentleman approached me. I had been going maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and I was approached by a dear friend, now he is, and he approached me and he just said, so, do you have 3 children? And I said, yes. He said, which one is deaf? And I was actually very sharp with him because I was taken aback because we were still coming to terms with it, and I suppose you could say it was pride. That was why we didn't sort of tell everybody. And he said, which one is deaf? And I said, who told you? And he said, God told me. And I said, oh, did he? And I was quite, and I said, well, why would he tell you? And he said, well, one day I'll pray for her healing. And I just said, oh, right. Because this was new to me, absolutely new to me. But it took me back to that walk that I had in the kitchen when I was crying out to the Lord, and I did say, and I remember saying, Lord, if you're the same yesterday, today and forever, why am I not seeing that? Why am I not seeing that? So here I was, Lord was taking me on a journey where I was going to see that, He was going to show me that. So some months passed by, and that gentleman came to our house, and it wasn't anything like you see on these television programmes, these healing meetings, and it was nothing like this. This was one man came to the house, and we prayed with my daughter, and it was almost like he sat there, I sat here, and she was stood in the middle, and he simply put a wee bit of oil in his hands, held her ears, and he just looked at her and he said, Ashley, we're just going to invite Jesus to come and heal your ears. And that's what he did, and he just prayed, Lord Jesus, we invite you to come and heal Ashley's ears. And her wee face went red and red, and she just kept going, Mum, 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 my ears, they're burning. And it was instant. It was instant in front of me. And it was like, wow. And she, we used to test her. We used to take her in the car, and we would like that. And the other 2 wouldn't hear, and she would be right in there. And to this day, she would testify that she has hearing that is not normal. She hears, she's a school teacher, and she can hear at the other end of the classroom or the other end of the corridor, and they're like, Miss, how can you hear that? And she'll say, because I've got a special hearing.
Oh.
So God didn't just heal her.
That's wonderful.
Didn't just heal her.
It's just wonderful.
But He's just gave her amazing hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first encounter that I had, that He is the God of the miraculous,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So.
And you know what, Pam? We're coming to an end.
Right.
I know, I love listening to your testimony. It's a wonderful testimony to the love of God in your life.
Yeah.
So He's healed your daughter, and you've seen many other works. In fact, I think we'd maybe have Pam back another time, because God is doing such amazing, amazing things in her, in the little church fellowship you're in now as well.
Yeah.
And is there any last wee message you want to give? 'Cause your marriage is okay now, isn't
Marriage
it?
is great. Marriage is great. I love Charlie to bits. I think probably one of the biggest keys for me has been, for many, many years, I thought I was a committed Christian, and that was good. And it's good, but it's not what God wants. He wants you to be a submitted Christian, and there is a vast difference between being committed and submitted. Paul was committed, but you need to be submitted, don't you? And then he became submitted. So it's really important that you submit and that you yield. But we could go on and talk about how I did encounter the Lord, and I ran away because I was so scared. I was so scared.
I think we're going to do that the next time. Okay. Listen, folks, I'm sorry we have to go just now, but thank you very much for tuning in, and come back next week and we'll see what else we have for you. God bless. Bye-bye just now.
This is GV247.tv, bringing biblical perspective to the world in which you live. A powerful free resource with hundreds of short films on a wide range of Bible topics from experts around the world, plus full-length sermons and programs for teaching and encouragement. Choose from current affairs, signs of the times, a chance to voice your own opinion, and special offers on our full-length feature films, documentaries, and study materials. At over 4 hours in length, the Lamplight Project is a systematic 12-part Bible study series, a powerful teaching tool that begins with the origins of life and takes the viewer on a comprehensive journey packed with high-profile interviews, film, graphics, and illustrations, concluding with the return of Christ and an encouragement to stand firm and be faithful. Complete with a free study guide download for both personal and group study, this powerful interactive guide connects to over 1,000 programs with expert interviews on GV247.tv, our free service web TV channel. Does My Life Have Meaning? A powerful 1-hour presentation produced from the Lamplight Project. With a free copy of the Gospel of Luke, this film is crammed with engaging interviews, film and graphics, a life-challenging film to those searching for answers. As distributors for the Jesus film, we offer this timeless movie based on Luke's Gospel. This clear presentation of the life of Jesus Christ has been viewed worldwide and translated into over 1,200 languages. We provide the film with a free copy of the Gospel of Luke. The Daniel Project is a popular TV documentary that presents an overview of Bible prophecy and an encouragement to read the signs of the times. Hailed as one of the best TV films to be made on the subject, DVD extras feature a heart-to-heart interview about the way of rescue. Based loosely on the documentary, The Daniel Connection is a full-length feature film. This fictional thriller incorporates many of the themes promoted through pop culture and social media which affect people on a global scale. Launched at the Cannes Film Festival, The Daniel Connection points the ever-skeptical viewer to search the Bible for answers to life's deepest questions. We've been serving the body of Christ for over 30 years, and if you would like further information, please do not hesitate to get in touch.